Hi there! If you are a regular viewer of mine, then you might have noticed that I'm always wearing this watch. It is actually a hybrid smartwatch which I got myself 2 years ago. And no, this video is not sponsored by them, but I have to say that this is a damn good smartwatch. What I like most about it is that it got a heart rate detection built in, which means I can measure my heart rate during working out and have a look at it through the included smartphone app later on. But I noticed that over time the heart rate detection became a bit sluggish and unreliable. That is why in this video I will find out how electrical heart rate detection works and afterwards build a small DIY heart rate monitor in order to ultimately compare its recorded heart rate data to that of my commercial smartwatch, to see whether its data is truly unreliable. Let's get started! This video is sponsored by JLC PCB, your one-stop solution for fast PCB production and SMT assembly. The starting price for PCBs is only $2, and through the DHL delivery option, you can get your PCBs even within a week. So upload your Gerber files today and try out their service. While having a closer look at my commercial smartwatch, we can easily identify the part which measures the heart rate. It apparently consists of 2 green LEDs and a small sensor which is positioned between them. This part of the watch is always firmly pressed against my skin while being worn. So the LEDs basically illuminate my skin, while the sensor, which is actually a photo detector, measures how much light returns from my skin. But how does this represent my heart rate? Well, the heart pumps blood through our vessels in kind of like wave-like pulses. During those pulses, the pressure changes the volume of our vessels slightly, and this directly affects how much light gets reflected into the photo detector. This way, the measured values could look something like this, which is also known as a PPG, or photoplethysmography. And by calculating the time between 2 or more peaks, we can thus easily get the heart rate. Of course, this was just the super simplified version of the functional principle. But you should now at least understand that we firstly need a heart rate sensor, which I quickly found on eBay. This one is made of the Max 30-100, which according to its datasheet should be able to do the job just fine, and even comes with an I2C interface. So I got myself an Arduino Pro Mini and used some simple hookup wire to connect the power and data wires of the sensor to it. Now of course we could use the information given by the datasheet in order to write our own I2C codes and interact with the sensor registers. But we live in the age of Arduino. So let's just download a library for the sensor and try one of its examples. To upload it to the board, I used an FTDI breakout set to 3.3 volts, which I simply pushed into the Arduino Pro Mini's PCB and clicked upload. As soon as the upload was done, the red LED of the sensor lit up, and thus I pressed my finger onto it and opened the serial monitor. And as you can see, the sensor seems to detect my heart rate more or less accurately if I use my smartwatch as a reference. But I quickly noticed that we would also need some algorithms to get a stable heart rate from the measured values. And your skin also needs to be pressed firmly against the sensor in order to get accurate measurements. Those observations partly led to problems though, because the sensor is not the tallest component on its breakout PCB, which means that when I will later design a custom housing for it, it will never be able to firmly press against my skin. That is why I dropped the sensor and instead looked for an alternative, which I quickly found in the form of this Groove heart rate sensor from Seeed Studio. This system basically combines a PAH-8001EI heart rate sensor with an STM32 microcontroller, which not only performs algorithms to calculate a stable heart rate, but also offers an I2C interface for easy Arduino integration. To test it, I plugged in its included connector and soldered all the wires to the Arduino. After then uploading the given example code, the sensor system woke up, and thus I once again placed my finger onto the sensor. By once again opening the serial monitor, I noticed that it took a bit longer to get a proper heart rate value, but as soon as it transmitted one, it seemed to be pretty accurate and stable if we once again compare it to my smartwatch. Now of course, this system is not ready for proper testing yet, because it still needs an OLED display, a battery with 3.3V regulator and a switch for power, and a microSD card module to log my heart rate. So I created this schematic for the task at hand and continued by soldering all the components to one another according to it through the help of some hookup wire. As soon as that was done, I wrote a bit of Arduino code, for which I used a total of 3 different libraries, and uploaded it to the finished system. And as you can see, the OLED shows me the current heart rate every second, and if we remove the microSD cards, then we can see that the Arduino also perfectly logged all the displayed values. Last but not least, it was time for me to design a case for the Arduino system in Fusion 360. As soon as I was happy with the result, I 3D printed it with my Prusa i3 Mark III, added an elastic band to it, and placed all the electronics inside, which I then temporarily secured with a bit of hot glue. And after adding both housings to my arm and checking whether everything still worked fine, it was time to also start my smartwatch and finally head outside to go for a run. I ran for about 30 minutes and noticed quite a few problems with the DIY system, but more about that in a second. First off, I had to import the recorded values into Excel in order to create this beautiful graph. At first, the DIY system worked pretty well, but it somehow got stuck at 160 BPM and afterwards dropped down to around 80 BPM, even though I was at around 140 BPM. However, after I repositioned the sensor during my run, it tracked my heart rate pretty accurately if I compare it to the smartwatch data, which only comes with minor differences. So that basically means, since both measured values are about the same, my smartwatch seems to still work just fine, which is a relief for me. If you're also relieved and enjoyed the video, then don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Stay creative, and I will see you next time!